Does it matter which medical school in the UK you graduate from? This is a question that lots of people applying to medical school this year are going to be thinking, and it's a common question that I hear asked at open days and when talking to people about which medical school they should choose. Hey guys, my name is Dibblin. I'm a final year medical student studying at King's College London, and in this video we're going to be talking about why the medical school you apply to does and doesn't matter. First of all, let's talk about why the medical school you go to really does matter. If you're applying as a graduate, so you've already done an undergraduate course in normally something slightly medical related like biomed, then you're going to be doing 4 years of university to get your medical degree. If you're applying straight from A-levels, or maybe you took a gap year and you're just applying for undergraduate medicine, that's going to take you 5 years. The majority of people on those 5-year courses are going to add on an extra year to bring that up to 6 years. Whether it's 4, 5 or 6 years, you spend a lot of time as a medical student at your medical school. It's obviously really important during that 4, 5 or 6 years that you are enjoying yourself, that you're not burning out, and that you're completing your studies. It is really important while you're at medical school that you are in a location that you enjoy. So I'm studying at King's College London in the centre of London. I know that we have placements around the southeast, so currently this video is being filmed in my dorm room in Hastings. I've already been over to Ashford, I've got friends who are in Margate and right the way across the southeast of England. But if your family is in Scotland and it's important to you to be close to your family, King's College London is not going to work for you. The second reason the medical school you go to does matter is that the people you meet and the connections you make and the friends that you make at medical school are lifelong friends. Throughout your career as a doctor, particularly if you're staying and working in the NHS, you are constantly going to be asked, what medical school did you go to? Oh, you went to King's. Oh, do you know such and such? Because medical school is such a massive event in the life of every doctor, it's something that sticks with people for their entire careers. Just the other day I was talking to an anaesthetist. I told them that I'm a GKT medic and they said they went to King's, and instantly they let me into the anaesthetic room, whereas for another medical student they might not have. Now obviously things like this, all of this nepotism, shouldn't really exist, but unfortunately it does, and it is important that you are aware of it going in. That is not at all to say that the older, more prestigious medical schools are better in any way. Some of the new medical schools, which haven't even had any graduates graduating and becoming doctors yet, are also fantastic, and there might be a huge thing to be said about being some of the first medical students to graduate from a particular institute. You're going to be kind of the founding alumni, if you will, and I'm sure in years to come that will also suit you really well. Now the medical school you go to really matters while you're a medical student, but as soon as you're no longer a medical student, it doesn't really matter at all. There's 4, 5 or 6 years of medical school are really long. They're going to feel like they're taking forever. It's going to feel like the longest thing you've ever done until you graduate and become a doctor at the age of 25, for example, and realise that you now have a minimum of 40 years of working, and suddenly that 5 years at medical school doesn't seem so long. As soon as you graduate from medical school, there is an assumption by the GMC, the General Medical Council, and by hospitals that are going to be employing you, that every single medical student graduating from medical school is at the same level. There are minimum requirements we all have to meet. Everybody who graduates from medical school and is granted that provisional registration with the GMC as they start their foundation years is on the same level. We can all do the same things, we have the same competencies signed off. Going to a different medical school or a better medical school does not then make you a better doctor. Being a doctor is a career of lifelong learning. Generally, the time from graduating medical school to becoming a consultant is about 11 years on average, depending on which speciality you choose. Being a GP might take 5 years from leaving medical school. Being some surgeons might take 15 years. So you're going to be spending longer in your specialty training than you ever spent at medical school. In terms of those networks that you create as a medical student, there are things to be said for bigger, more prestigious medical schools, and there are similarly pros and cons of being at a smaller, more closely knit medical school. At King's we have more than 450 people in every year. I do not know most of the people in my year, so if I were to bump into them in a hospital in 10 years' time, I wouldn't know that they went to King's. Whereas maybe if I went to a smaller medical school with 40, 50 medical students, you would know everyone quite closely, and then you'd be keeping up with those people throughout your career. So you'd have less opportunity to bump into someone from your medical school, but if you do bump into them, you're probably more likely to know them. On top of that, the whole idea that who you know is more important than what you know really should just be thrown out the window anyway. So when you're choosing a medical school, do keep in mind that for the 4, 5 or 6 years that you're going to be there, it's going to be really important where you are, and it's important that you enjoy it and you get the most out of it. But as soon as you leave, you can choose to leave that all behind you, and you can choose to make it so that that doesn't matter at all. Let me know in the comments below whether you think that the medical school you go to should matter, or if we should just get rid of that and everyone after they graduate should be put on the same footing. I hope you liked this video. Remember to leave a like if you did, and subscribe to the channel for loads more about medical school, about learning, and about studying.